that is what the Divine Mother does. She builds a bridge to ease your mind and for you to take comfort that you are right where you're supposed to be and that nothing bad is happening and everything is okay. That's what I really, really love when I hear that song, is to really think about how that can really solidify your faith when you're going through a difficult time. So today we are talking about resting in the comfort of the Divine Mother. But I first have a question. I want to say something. Knock, knock. Ice cream soda. Ice cream soda. People can hear me. I thought that was funny. Oh, gosh. It's getting harder and harder to find better jokes. I think I need a writing assistant. But I really wanted to talk about the Divine Mother today. I heard Asha Namaswamy talk about the Divine Mother in such a beautiful way, which we might call God or the Creator. But on this beautiful day where we celebrate the feminine divine, I really, when I think of the Divine Mother, I think of those moments with my mom where she was very present and, you know, if I did something, you know, she could always see through it. She used to tell me she had eyes in the back of her head, and I believed her. It didn't stop me from getting into shenanigans, but this is kind of what I think about the Divine Mother, that it sees and knows everything because it is everything, but it allows us to experience life knowing that we are held, that we are loved by something greater than our mind can comprehend. There was a story that Asha Namaswamy told, and she said that when she was about 7 years old, she went to sleepaway camp, and she said that she had a great time, but a lot of the projects were not geared towards 7-year-olds, and one of them was making pot holders. So she said that, you know, the pot holders, they got to take those bands, you know, I don't know if we all experienced those little ways of making pot holders, and that her fingers were too small, so she was a little distressed. And on Parents' Day, she was the only child that did not have pot holders hanging on her bunk. And so she couldn't bear the disappointment of not having pot holders. So she moved the pot holders from the other bunk and put them on hers. And she goes on to say that naturally the little ruse was quickly uncovered, and her parents were very strict about dishonesty. So she says is what she could remember, that they must have scolded her. But she remembers most was her mother's compassion. She said as she laid curled up in her lap, sobbing and defending herself, they fell from the top bunk, she said, but nobody was persuaded. She said the transparency and the absurdity of her denial of her childish but very real anguish must have kept her poor mother between laughter and tears. And I think about some of the shenanigans that I told my mom, and you know, as mothers, we really try to give space and freedom and also teach that level of confidence and resilience and respect and honesty. So as I was listening to her story, I could imagine her mom, her mom's dilemma in showing love and wanting to teach a lesson. But she said, lucky for her, her mom was very kind and compassionate, even though she wasn't persuaded. What she realized as she went on her spiritual path to study under a spiritual teacher, she realized that the truth simply is. That the truth simply is. And that this is what we're looking to always be in congruence with. And when we are out of congruence or alignment with it, suffering arises, or anxiety, or sadness, and all of these things are very real feelings, and our body really does feel them, but they are here to inform us. And what I really love about this story is it's a representation, and she used it as a representation to talk about the Divine Mother, and that that we've all had someone in our lives, whether it was our mother or somebody, a teacher or somebody that showed us that kindness, that comfort that we needed at the moment, because the Divine Mother, the Creator, the Beloved, always plants those people in our lives to show us. I call them way showers. And for me, it was teachers. It was, now in my adult life, spiritual teachers. But I sent this message to my daughter this morning that said, thank you for the most beautiful days and the difficult ones. They've both been the greatest teachers that have gotten me through to become who I am today. So I am grateful for you. So I am grateful for the Divine Mother, and I am grateful for that feeling of being held. And when Tracey has nowhere to go or nowhere to turn, or the anxiety arises from an old neuro pathway, you know, our plight as humans is not to be perfect. It's to know thyself. It's to understand the psychology of this life, because we are influenced by many, if that's a belief of yours. But it's hard enough, as Ernest Holmes, just to understand the psychology of yourself in this lifetime. And there's something in the revealing of that psychology where you begin to loosen the judgment on yourself. And in that loosening of judgment on yourself, you begin to rest in the Divine Mother, and then it is expressed through you as God to all you meet. You become magnetic in nature. You start to purify your mind. You start to command the will of your personality, and then you start to move in the direction on the spiritual path that creates an awakening or a opening. I call it a window, and for me, sometimes it's a wee little crack. Sometimes it's a big window. It depends how in my mind I am seated in my belief system. If I can get grounded enough, and I say to myself, thy will be done. And now it's I really do love the idea of the Divine Mother, because the world needs the feminine right now. We need the masculine, feminine as a balance, but the feminine nature really does evoke the most beautiful qualities at a spiritual level, at a higher level, in a spiritual way. There's nothing, like I said in the opening, that a warm hug does not make you feel so supported, right? So sometimes our mind can feel like it is not supported. And this is where we deepen in our faith. Can you put that first slide up for me? So, what I took from this, and this is what Asha said, was how unfazed, even amused, the Divine Mother of the universe must feel as she watches us foible, and how lovingly she holds us in her lap as we sob, protesting against the consequences of our own actions. Right? We create our own karma, and what's happening now is the karma we created of the past. And we don't have to look at karma as a negative thing. It's merely our choices. I've made them. Everyone's made them. It's merely cause and effect. But what I do desire, and one of the things that I love to teach, is when you become aware and you command the will of your personality, then the choices you make are on a higher conscious level, knowing that there's going to be effect, and that what you're doing now creates your future for tomorrow, which is very different than the unconscious choice or our foibles. But I don't know about you, but I can really screw some things up. I mess stuff up all the time. And, it's okay, because as a perfectionist, recovering perfectionist, you see it often on the outside, right on the other side of it, because you can see the effect of it, not only from yourself, or maybe it's impacted somebody else. And you want to go, maybe apologize, or maybe ask for forgiveness, or, maybe even just what I would call go to do your nightly review, where you review your day, you kind of look at it differently, and you ask yourself how you would have done it differently. And this is the love that the universe, the Divine Mother, the God, the Creator, whatever you have for that, this is the love that allows us to have foibles, to judge ourselves, then to step back and take a look and go, wow, I could have done that differently. And then you step back into yourself and you try it again. I don't know about your mom, but I I really struggled in school. We've talked about this a little bit. And I remember one time I stuffed everything in my backpack and I ran upstairs and I hid the backpack under the bed. And my mom must have gotten a call from the teacher. And my mom gets upstairs and she's like, is there something that you need to tell me? And I'm like, no. Nothing you need to know. Everything's good here. And she's like, oh, where's your pack or satchel or whatever it was? And I go, must have left it at school. And she's like, really? And I was sitting there with my little Barbie doll head, doing makeup and whatever. And my mom kneels down, and I could feel the anxiety of being discovered, And she opens the backpack to all of these papers that were either unfinished or not marked appropriately, or that revealed the lack of confidence and security I had in myself and my own understanding as a child. And we rely on our parents to uplift us in those moments. But they can give you what they've been given. They can treat you the way they've been treated. And they try their best to do it in the most loving way. And I used to tell this story from the reference of my mom dragged me down those stairs and put me in the car and took me to school and sat me in front of the teacher. And that's what created my, issues with authority. And how could you and how dare you? And maybe all of that was true. Maybe I was making it up. But when I read this story, what I realized was how difficult that must have been for her. Because the one thing I know about my mother and the Divine Mother is, I have goosebumps, is that we love in the way that we were loved. And it must have been so complicated for her to want so much more for me than I was giving. And it must have been really difficult for her to want to teach that lesson. And how do I know that? Because I had children. And when they did things, I found myself wanting to embrace them and, tie them up and put them in a closet till they were 22. We struggle between this balance of wanting to teach a lesson and showing love, and it is a balance. And this is the Divine Mother. She provides you a balance of not interfering and allowing you to discover yourself on your own, but she interjects enough people to give you a foundation of faith that you may feel like you're alone, but in the inner deep recesses of your heart, you know that you are truly held by her. And, it plants the seed that enables you to reach out to someone that might have, traversed the path a little bit further than you. And one of the things that when I talk to my mom now, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect in my house. My mother wasn't perfect, but she loved deeply. And when I got older and started to look at her circumstances and understood that everything that happens for my greater good, it doesn't mean that it didn't hurt or you didn't feel or that it didn't create who you are, but you have a deeper sense of understanding of the plight of humanity, that when we live in the world, we are acting from the world, we are moving from the world, and we are doing and being and saying part of who we come to be and part of how people treated us. And the great news about the Divine Mother is she is none of those things, right? It is there, wholly supporting you, always, in every way. That there is a seed from the Divine Mother that compassion in the face of imperfection is the grounding or the basis of the story. That the great potholder escapade vividly illustrates a mother's compassion, a reminiscent of the mother's divine, unwavering love. Despite, she says, the transparent absurdity of the situation, the mother always responds with kindness, holding her child in her lap as they sob and protest against the actions, just as the Divine Mother must feel, again, unfazed by our foibles. I've learned in my adult life, the only one judging me is me. And if I'm judging me harshly enough, I'll meet others that are too, because they're there to support my idea of myself. And then we go out and go, God, why is that person judging me? Well, then you got to go back in and go, oh, why am I judging myself? And then we can look at that in the light of truth and honesty. And then a deeper understanding arises that we need to go within, recognize there's something that we need to let go of so that we can open that window wider, and a truth can take its place in your consciousness that you are enough. That you are enough. I always like to say, I am who I am, and that is enough. And that goes for that little Tracey that liked to hide things because she was afraid of disappointing others. And although my mom might not have done a good job of curbing that, as my teacher Rebe said, it doesn't really matter if you miss the mark when you try, because you will always get the opportunity to try again. The important thing is that you don't give up. You recognize the deeper truth that has been deeply planted in you, and you allow it to grow through action, as Jeff talked about last week, taking action in your life, reading a book, finding a teacher, taking a class, meeting a practitioner, or just sitting quietly in the stillness until something informs you to move. Asha's teacher, Swami Kriyananda, he endured some very, very enormous challenges in his life. Can you put up that next slide for me? Including betrayal by those he considered his closest friends. His response was simple: I choose to love. Why should I allow the wrong actions of others to take away my inner peace? I feel better if I love. And this can be really difficult sometimes when we feel like something's being done to us. It's, my natural reaction, it's getting shorter, but sometimes it is to go out and to react. And I have my own mechanisms, my own neural pathways of protection, because we all have lives. And the closer that karma is to you, the more reactive you're probably going to be, like your husband or your family or your children, because they are your direct karma there to really as a gift for you to get to understand yourself so that you can look more closely at it and then go to the Divine Mother and lay it at her feet in a sense of surrender. And so we choose to love. We choose love. The mind thinks it's something that it gives, but it is truly who you are. So the simple words from the universe, right? These simple words. A universe of divine understanding, an understanding that we must eventually reach, is that there is only one reason, when we choose love. We are happier when we love. When we love, it is God who flows through you. The Divine Mother shows the power of unconditional love. Swami Kriyananda's response to the betrayal underscores the unconditional love that we all can hold in our hearts. And despite those enormous challenges, choosing love and refusing to let the actions of others steal his inner peace echoes the words of a great sage, Anandamayi Ma, who proclaimed, "There is no love but God's love." And this was in response to someone who went to see her that said, "We in the West love you so much." And her response to that was, again, "There is no love but God's love." This highlights the ultimate truth of the divine feminine love. It transcends our human nature, our limitations, and it is the source of our greatest happiness and peace. And when we take that time, that gift to ourselves, to stop the busyness of our life, to stop the running here and there, and just sit our rear ends down, and we just take some moments to follow the breath and just ask the question, Divine Mother, Creator, God, Universe, show me today how I am fully supported in an experiential way that grows my faith, that seats me in the truth of your divine nature, that purifies my mind and opens a window so that what comes out of me is you and I as one. This is the gift of the Divine Mother. This is the power that you have as a human being. And in closing, Ernest Holmes says this: love opens the way before us and expands our consciousness so that we can see the beauty, the joy, and the fulfillment of life. The Divine Mother love helps us navigate through our past mistakes, our interactions with family, friends, and community. This mystical guidance supports, heals, and expands our consciousness, creating more freedom by transformation through that thing that we call love. And I'll just seat this in a moment of prayer. I just know right here, right now, that thing that is peace says you are peace. The mind that says, I am love, also that there is love says, no, you are love. That the Divine Mother has wrapped her arms around you, that it is seated deep within you until it becomes you. That through courage and conviction, we look at our psychology, we look at our makeup, we look at how we traverse through the world, and the things that create discord or suffering in us is removed, is healed, is revealed, so that we can just let it be. We can give ourselves that which we need to move forward on the path so that we are open to receiving the wisdom from the higher cosmos. You need to do nothing to receive this. You are perfect as you are. The great sages and teachers didn't have master's degrees and doctorates. They had an infinite love. They had an idea of transformation. They had a way of taking action within themselves. And this is what they were inviting us into. This is what the Divine Mother, on this beautiful day where we celebrate, is calling to you. Open yourself up. Take a look. Let go of all that doesn't serve you. Fill your heart and be still and know that you are love. And I release these words into the law, knowing that everything is always okay because God is, therefore we are. And so it is.